If you go to on your screen to the right upper hand, you'll see a grid. Like if you hit that grid, you'll have a better visual on your screen. So it's a lot better visual. So just hit that. It's like 4 dots cluttered in one icon. Hit that icon and that will open up your screen so you can see people better. As far as the agencies introducing themselves, the clock starts as soon as Allison has finished. And we can, so we're not going to spend a lot of time with introductions, so they can introduce themselves as they need to. We'll let you know what members are included in that group. The sad thing is that we don't have that social time. We normally have that warm and fuzzy time where we can actually talk with the agencies, because when you're in person, it's a lot more intimate. And because we've had to shorten the time because CHSP was so significantly delayed this year, we've had to crunch in 20 minutes. So just making sure that but yet I think the main thing is, and I think one thing I don't know about Gwen and all of you guys is that you always talk to people and you have a great empathy for what people do in human services, and it comes across very strongly. So I thank you guys for that. And there's a Dominique Beasley on the line. I just
already working on it.
Okay. Oh, okay. I just saw somebody showing up. Okay.
I have a quick question. I think I missed some information last week. I was out and my email filled up. So I've gotten some things, but it sounds like not everything. But so let me just make sure I understand, as far as from the agency side, is it just one person or their leadership team, or will they possibly have some of their board members present in one room? How are they doing that part?
We've given them 5. Each agency was allowed to have 5 members representative participate, and they got to choose what 5 members. So at a minimum, you have an executive director, probably a program manager, probably a fiscal manager or board treasurer, and probably at least 1 to 2 board members. That will be, so it doesn't, whether we had different variations. Yesterday people were remote, so they were separate. We still brought them into the meeting, or some people met in a safe way in one large room, because they as an agency, they had the capacity to do that and create social distance. So that's the format. As far as there's no questions. I did send you guys the CHSP description manual, because it's still, if you remember, it lays out several questions even in there. I thought that might be helpful for a guide too, but it's going really asking the questions that you need, anything you need clarified. So we already spoke about the fact that, and Allison, I don't know if you heard me or not, but there's a mandated question. Gwen will start when we first start the meeting. Gwen will say the first question we need you to ask is that describe to us how the COVID-19 virus will impact your ability to effectively implement the program. So that's the first question, because we got to know, because to some degree we're doing, like we were saying earlier, it's the unknown. We're making recommendations for programs, and in some incidents, we don't know for sure if those programs will be operational, but we hope so. So the future is, for all of us, is unknown right now and uncertain. So anyway, so that's the format. Any other questions? Janetta, I see Janetta, another team member. Janetta. Virginia, you might want to reach out to Janetta, because something is going on. I see. Virginia?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please reach out to Janetta, because something is wrong?
Yeah, I think she's having trouble. She's trying to sign on through her phone or something. So I think she's having some issues.
You might want to call her. Is Charlie here? No, Charlie has not logged in. So
has joined the meeting.
Beasley.
What was that? Who is Dominique Beasley?
Dominique, it's not your time to sign in yet. If you would sign in about 5 minutes prior to your scheduled Q&A with the CRT.
Janetta Chicks was here.
Okay.
And with people joining the meeting, we can't put them into the waiting room until they actually join. So you may see someone pop up, but we will immediately put them to the waiting room,
Okay.
verify who they are.
Right. And Isha, so any other questions? I'm gonna kind of, like I was saying, I'll be pretty much going to be your shop. I may interject from time to time, but it's more about, for me, it's just about procedural things. If I feel like we need to kind of narrow. So again, it's my primary role is to make sure that we are consistently treating everyone the same, and that we are, we're following the basic protocols of teleconferencing format, which is new to all of us, but yet we've done one grant process already, so we're kind of glad we did. We did a mini grant process earlier in the year with in fact, Leanne was on that committee. How was that experience for you, Leanne? Because she actually
liked it. Yeah, it went really well, I think. That was it was different, but it was very efficient, and I think we got through it really well.
And made good decisions too. Good
We
decisions.
did.
Hmm.
I have one question. Patricia, do we ask the question once we give them the time going? That would be the first question that we ask. How do we know when one individual need to ask a question? So
What we'll do is as a team, as a leader, and that's why I want people to hopefully, as much as possible, be visual on your team. Either they will have to, they could, Virginia,
Yes, ma'am.
you ready to give them the tutor, because that's a tutoring question as well for the WebEx.
Okay. Well, first part of this is at the very bottom of your screen, you'll see a couple of circles. If this is familiar to you, just please forgive me and just let me, I'm trying to share my screen, but it's, again, if I try to share it, it won't show those buttons. So the very first button is your mute button. If it is gray, you are unmuted. If it is solid red, you are muted. There's going to be a lot of feedback on here. So if you can mute yourself when you're not talking, like Leanne has headphones in, so that tends to help. If you're starting to have a lot of bandwidth issues, because WebEx does take a lot of bandwidth, you can also do audio connect, which I'll show you in just a minute. And that'll drastically lessen your bandwidth. But that's how you mute yourself. The next button is your video button. Same thing, if it's gray, you're on. If it's red, solid red, your video is off. The next button I believe you all have is a participant panel, and it's a little person with some lines. If you click on that, you can see all the persons in this conference room to the right. I'm not, as the host, I can see a lot more than you all, so I'm not really sure what else it shows. You should be able to click over your name, and it gives you like a little hand where you can say raise hand, and it'll notify me that you've raised your hand. It sounds kind of elementary, but that's one way that we can go about doing the, I have a question, I would like to be unmuted, or just something going on. The next blurb is like a little bubble blub. If you text a lot, this looks familiar to you. It's a chat button. Same thing. It'll pop up to your right on the bottom. It's automatically going to say everyone. So just don't forget, if you have agencies in the room and you hit everyone, it goes to them as well. So if you need to privately go to somebody, you can. I think it says like hosts is myself, presenters, Anita, and Anita and I are going to go back and forth as the host. But you can send direct messages to your fellow volunteers. If there's a sound issue, you can let one of us know, and we'll get that taken care of as soon as possible. The next button should be, it's about 3 buttons in a row, and it says more options. Click on that. This is how I'll show you how to do audio connect. So there's a phone that says audio connection. And again, this is if you're starting to have bandwidth issues, or if it's hard for you to hear, you can click on audio connect, and you just have to type in your cell phone number. It will register on your end, but it doesn't get recorded on my end. So what it'll do, you type your number in, you hit call me, and you'll get a phone call from WebEx on your cell phone. If you want to see how that sounds, Sarla's doing that, so you can kind of hear how that is. We've actually found out for those who have a little bit of internet issues, it works out a lot better. And again, it saves on bandwidth. Pat's already touched base on the grid, the top right-hand side. It's automatically set up to do active speaker, and that tends to irk a lot of people. I like to see everybody laid out, so when people enter the room, it's easier for me to catch them and move them. So you can change your display. The little box with the arrows at the top, it makes it a very mini floating panel. So if you click on that, it basically minimizes your screen so you can look at applications or do something else. I don't suggest that if you're trying to pay attention to agencies talking or catch cues or whatever the case, but if that's your style, there you are. Other than that, that's really about it. There's somebody that just came in, so give me a second. But other than that, please be patient with us. We did go through this yesterday. Leanne was one of our wonderful experiments with Bridge. So I'm trying to catch the agencies as they come in. I'm trying to move them as fast as I can. I'm going to get to a point where you'll see on the top right, it will say meeting logs, and that allows us not to have anybody intrude on us. But just be patient with me. I'm trying to catch them as fast as I can and get them moved out so they don't hear anything they shouldn't hear. If I'm missing anything, if something's going on, you need us to repeat anything, just do the chat. It's fine. You can email, whatever the case be. But again, we're being recorded. You will not be recorded during the break times. You'll see it will say meeting has paused or recording has paused. You will not be recorded during lunchtime. I just highly suggest you stay on because that's middle of the day. So people start to have internet issues. I start to have internet issues about 2 o'clock. So I just leave mine on. I would just suggest you turn your camera, mute yourself, or cover your computer. But other than that, do y'all have any other questions? I mean, it's pretty, we'll make it as smooth as we can, but if y'all have any questions or need me to walk you through something, just let me know.
Janetta says she is on, she's driving, she can hear and see, but she can't do the video because she's driving, but she can hear everything.
Okay. Janetta, be safe. But it sounds like y'all are ready to go. So I'm handing it right back over to you, Miss Gwendolyn. Oh, you're muted. And just remember to unmute yourselves. I know this is not normal, so we're going to start talking and we're muted. So Miss Gwendolyn, if you flow a little bit further down, your bubbles will pop. There you go.
I just want everybody to be comfortable. We are all veterans here, so feel free to ask questions as you need to at any time. And I'm just here facilitator. So just think of me as I am a part of the team. So we are a team together. And really appreciate everybody who's here today.
Pat, you're muted.
I said I know the ones who come who serve on the first week. I know this was a lot of work to do, so thanks a lot for and it's a lot more tougher because what we're finding, I know for ourselves, is that it takes a lot more effort to do tasks that you used to do in the office. It takes a lot more effort to get anything done. So thank you guys a lot. And with that, the first meeting we have is with legal aid. Let's see, Legal Services of North Florida. So we'll bring in the representatives from Legal Services of North Florida. So I'll help with that too, because I'm watching everybody. So if by some chance one of the volunteers wants to ask one of your colleagues wants to ask a question, I'll make sure I'm looking to make sure so that you can focus on the presentation. So I will also look, and if you raise your hand or something like that, just give me a signal, and then I'll make sure that Virginia unmutes that person. They unmute yourself, and then you can participate. And I think Virginia already told all of us that if you're not speaking, to go ahead and mute yourself so we can reduce the, all of the noise, the background noise. Thank you very much.
have 3 representatives from Legal Services in North Florida in the conference room.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Doing well. How about you?
Doing well. Ah, there you are. Hi. We're going to get started. This is a good time to start. Is everybody in that you need to be here?
See Angel. I see Holly. I think we're for I think 2 people, but we can start without them. They're available for questions later. One is our board president, and one is our senior attorney, and they registered, so I anticipate them joining.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to start this morning. Good morning to everyone. My name is Gwendolyn Philia. I will be the team leader today. We're going to have an opportunity for everyone to introduce themselves. We're going to start with the team, the CHP team first, and then from that point on, then you can do that. Holly is going to keep you on task, and she's going to tell you what the time is, and we're going to give you an opportunity to present your case.
Okay, just a reminder, Holly, I need you to, you are muted. There's a lot of background sounds coming. Is that Stephanie? Make sure you're muted when you're not speaking, Stephanie. Have the team members finish introducing themselves?
I haven't heard any.
Yeah, please to go.
I'll go first. Hi, I'm Leanne Giroux. I'm with the Florida League of Cities, and I've been on the CHSP review teams for 12 years now. Good morning.
Hi, I'm Summer Boggs, and I work with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and this is my second time as a citizen team reviewer.
Good morning, I'm Allison Voorhees. I'm with Capital City Bank, and I think this is my 5th or 6th year on a review team, and I'm your timekeeper today. So we'll have 20 minutes for questions, and I'll give you a warning at 5 minutes, and I'll just kind of help keep us on track. So if ever I'm talking, you can't hear me, just wave or something, because I'm getting pretty good at these kinds of meetings after 2 months at home, but let me know if you can't hear me. But our time starts now.
Hey, Virginia, make sure we can, I want you to pay attention, because sometimes the volunteers are forgetting to unmute themselves, so make sure they're unmuted when you need to unmute yourself.
Is that better? Yes?
Yes.
Good. The first question we have, and we need you to address, please, is during this uncertain time of COVID-19, how do you effectively implement your program?
Sure. Thanks for the question. We have been pretty fortunate that we've been spending the past 18 months really looking at remote work as a part of a response to Hurricane Michael. So this was something that we were, I won't say prepared, I don't know that any of us was prepared for this, but we had some things in the pipeline that we were already working towards. So we actually started moving to remote work on March 16th. We were able to take our entire intake call center and allow staff to work remotely so that they were still using our phone system and able to take client calls throughout the entire time. There's never been a gap in services through that process. We have maintained limited staff in the office. So in the event someone did come with an emergency or didn't realize that, that we weren't physically open to the public, someone has been here able to handle those cases. We have safety precautions in place to make sure both the applicant, the client, and our staff remain safe, appropriately distanced, all of those things. So for this project, a lot of this project does involve working with community partners. There's certainly a significant part with us working with clients of the Kearney Center, working with Big Bend After Reentry Clinic Coalition, and other, Hope House and the Continuum of Care and the Homeless Coalition and others who deal with affordable housing issues. So we've been working closely with them in our current project to make sure that virtual clinics and virtual legal assistance is directly available rather than going through our intake system. We've set up a special number for those individuals to be able to call in, get assistance. We do have multiple video technology resources that our staff is trained in order to provide video conferencing if that's necessary. We have worked with community partners to help with the transition of documentation, and we've kind of gone old school with some of those things. We routinely have clients in the parking lot who are talking to our staff on the phone, and then we go out and we exchange papers so that we're still socially distant. And as you might be able to see behind us, we have a relatively large conference room that we use when we do need to meet in person with someone. We've worked with our staff to make sure that they are certified with remote notarization if there's documents that need to be notarized. That was actually a new law that went into place in January, which we've been able to implement fairly quickly. So I think the biggest challenge in answer to that question has been our outreach and how do we get messages out to prospective clients, people who might be facing legal issues but don't even realize that problem they're facing has a legal solution. So we've really tried to use our social media and other resources that we have to do. We started doing Facebook Live events. We've developed new brochures and information specifically around COVID-19 issues, the eviction and foreclosure moratoria, the stimulus checks, challenges with accessing unemployment and denial of unemployment assistance, the new forms of consumer scams that have come out, the new forms of food stamps that are available to people. All of those things are things that we've been creating materials on and sharing them with our community partners so that as they interact with their clients and the people that they serve, that information is being disseminated more broadly. And some of what we do that for is what we call preventative legal services. If we can educate individuals on what their rights are, then perhaps they are accessing assistance in a better way that prevents it from becoming a legal issue. So for example, the eviction moratoria, if we can talk through with a client how to negotiate with their landlord to avoid the eviction so that they don't face homelessness down the road, that's beneficial because then we're not using our resources to represent them in court, and they're not using community resources by being forced into a homeless shelter or other, losing their furniture, losing the food, losing the other things that might be in that housing unit. So those are parts of our culture and parts of our model anyways, but being able to really sit down and think creatively about how we modify those things with the physical distancing limitations, and frankly, just the added stress that everyone's dealing with about all of the problems that they are facing. How can we get through those barriers, those psychological barriers, to help people identify the issues that they might need help with?
Okay, team, any other questions right now, please?
I have a quick question with regard to your clients' ability to interact with you in the current environment. Has that been impacted at all? Do you foresee that continuing to be impacted given the demographic that you serve? And is that something that you can handle in short term, would be a long-term challenge, or how would you address that part of it?
So the technology is certainly an issue. And, if we're talking about video conferencing, then that has certainly become an issue. So we've upgraded our wireless access points at our office. So if someone has a smartphone, but they don't have data access, they can come into our parking lot, get a guest Wi-Fi password, and we can communicate with them in that way. So that's been, again, that was something that we had planned on doing in terms of the upgrade of the wireless access points, but adding this sort of new way of using it from the parking lot, that's something that's a little bit new for us. You know, our attorneys and Angel and Steph may be able to address this a little bit more, have been doing remote hearings now since mid-March, and working with clients to have them be represented in a hearing process through the courts using these other technologies certainly has been a challenge for both the courts and the clients and us in terms of that's just a huge adjustment. And we've been very active with the courts in identifying issues and challenges and working through those. I don't know, Angel and Steph, do you want to talk a little bit about how that client interaction has worked over the past few months?
This is Angel. So I've been working closely with the Kearney Center staff to figure out how to get a hold of the clients. That's been an issue because now they've been dispersed into 4 different locations. And so really working with the case managers at each location to figure out how to reach the client through mail or phone or whatever technology is available. So that's what we've been working on.
And I would add that one thing that's been really critical through that, and this has really been mostly Angel doing that work, has been constant communication with the Kearney Center staff, and as we work with other community partners with their staff to identify the best ways to communicate with those we serve. How can we best get that information out to different folks within the community? And it's that kind of feedback, frankly, that led to the build out of this application that you have in front of you. And that constant communication, this back and forth of talking to our partners about what barriers they're seeing in their clients, telling them about the legal issues that we're seeing so that they can work to identify those in the people that they're serving, and really just having that cross communication, because we don't live in a bubble and we can't work in a bubble. And if we're going to serve the clients fully. And again, that's I think that groundwork that was laid pre-COVID has been really helpful in making that adjustment over the since March.
I have one question as well too. How is this when clients have to go to court? How are you handling that? Is the cases handled in I know the time frame is probably lengthy. Are you experiencing more time in between settling their case or getting them some resolution to their problems or issues?
So the courts have prioritized what they're hearing. They've limited, they're focusing first on emergency and priority cases. And so I think probably where we've seen the greatest impact, one is with the eviction moratoria in place. They aren't hearing evictions right now. And some of you may have heard that the moratorium, which was supposed to expire today, has been extended now until July 1st. But we're still seeing those cases. There are still some landlords who are pursuing eviction, claiming that it's not covered under the moratoria. And in some cases that might be true, but we've got to look at all those cases and make sure that it's correct. But in answer to your question, we've been having those hearings. I know Stephanie does a lot of dependency hearings. That's a large part of her work, is where we represent children in foster care. Well, that's not covered in this application. That's a kind of hearing that never stops, because caring for our kids and making sure they're taken care of is very important. And so Steph would probably be the best person to talk about how that may have evolved since March, and how the judges and all of the parties, especially in dependency, because you might have 4 different attorneys in a case, how that's worked. Stephanie, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so let me just go back on the eviction cases. When this first started, we had trouble because the clerks weren't letting folks know that they had to call in and where they had to call in. So that was a huge problem for our clients and probably everybody. And so we worked with the clerks to make their notices a little more clear so people knew what the process was. But yeah, since then we've been doing injunctions by phone, which are very high stress cases. We've been doing, the courts have been doing dependency cases. There have been evictions where it doesn't relate to non-payment of rent. So the courts are getting pretty savvy on how to use Zoom. And the clients, if they don't have Zoom capabilities, they can always just pick up the phone and call in. And the worst case scenario is if the clients don't have access to a phone, we try to get them to a place where they can use the phone so that they can appear by phone.
Thank you. Team, any other questions?
I have a quick one. It sounds like you've done a good job of adapting to the current situation. Do you see this broadening your ability to serve clients with these new technologies? So are you able to increase possibly the population that you'll serve with the same amount of funds, or is it an even exchange with previous programs?
Interesting question. I think that's a conversation that we're all continuing to have, because we also serve the rural counties around Leon County. Remote access has been something we've looked at for some time. How can we help someone in Franklin County who can't get to us to see them, but they have an emergency and there's no time for us to get to them either. And so this has been a conversation that's ongoing. We've been able to leverage that to build out our COVID response. I think there are lessons that we are learning through this process, and just the broad and complete implementation of a remote office environment that we are definitely going to learn. I think one really good example is we have a helpline that we have staffed with pro bono attorneys, and we have been piloting what we're calling Helpline from Home, which is the ability for pro bono attorneys to have limited access to cases within our case management system. So they get assigned cases as if they were staff, and they can only look at those cases that they're assigned, and they can reach out to someone via phone and give them advice and counsel on a legal issue. We've been able to take that pilot now and expand it more broadly to recruit more attorneys, pro bono attorneys who are using that tool. And because they're interested now, this is a time when people are interested in helping on a broader level. They're more excited about this opportunity to sit from their own homes or their own offices and provide that advice. But that expansion is allowing us to serve more people just through those pro bono attorneys. And similarly, as we grow out that process, our attorneys are learning from that and being able to do things remotely. We have had some funders who required things to be in person. And
I just want to let you know we're at the 5:00 morning mark.
Sure, thank you. No, I appreciate that. So we have had some funders who have been resistant to telephone, who now are being forced to consider it because it's one of the only options that's available. Particularly our funder for domestic violence and victims of crime work has been resistant to video and telephone as a way of consultation and court appearances. And just being able to do more of that work this way with the flexibility they've had to recognize, I think is going to expand some of those ways we can leverage other funds to support this work. And I guess one of the things that I want to hit on is this project, because it's created to fill gaps in legal aid, there are funding sources that we're able to leverage to do a lot of the work that we're doing, but by reaching out and really identifying the issues that our community partners and that we were seeing as gaps in services. That was the intent when we originally began drafting this project. And I think with COVID, we're seeing where all of those things ring true, because those gaps are the things that our clients are seeing the biggest need in. So, we're excited about what the question that you asked, because it's a change of perspective. It allows us to look at things differently and make sure that we're hearing what our clients are saying, that we're hearing what our community partners are saying, and that we're making those adjustments in a way that's going to increase either the level of service that they're receiving or the number of people that we're able to serve and the depth of that service. Or both.
One question for me. With that said, and because funding is very tight, this allocation time, tell me what's the most important thing. I know you mentioned this in your application, but if you could not get the level of funding that you asked for, what would be the most crucial thing that you would need?
So you're right. There's a section of the application that breaks down sort of segments of this and how we're growing it out. And so I'll talk about that a little bit. You know, the partnership with the Kearney Center has taken some time to grow, and we've grown it fairly significantly pre-COVID, and just the adjustments post-COVID, and identifying that so many of their clients don't have a source of income, and ways that we can help them get work within the system to get past tax refunds so that they can pay a security deposit and get a place to live. Help them to get Social Security and SSI so that they can have a constant stream of income if they truly aren't able to work. Those are, so I would say that that's probably the most critical partnership. We've also been working with the Reentry Coalition. They've asked us to set up computers which are funded with a different project in their center that they're establishing, so that reentering citizens from incarceration are able to access resources. And what these funds would allow us to do is better staff that technology and better support what's there. I think those are probably the two most critical things. Each part of it is critical. The affordable housing crisis is so significant, and it is truly a gap that we're seeing, that we can't represent every client who comes in who has a meritorious eviction case. We can provide a lot of pro se assistance, but this would allow us to provide a deeper level of assistance to those individuals to improve their outcomes and their stability within the community. But I do think those partnerships with Kearney Center and with the Big Bend Reentry are probably the two most critical pieces.
We have a little over a minute left.
I just, if there's not another question, I just want to thank y'all for your time and for you making the adjustment to do this way. I know this has been as challenging for y'all, I'm sure, as it has been for us, and we're grateful for your commitment in this really unique time. So thank you again for your participation and for the hard work you have ahead of you.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure talking with you, and thank you for sharing your wonderful program. And continue to be safe and take care of yourself.
We have 30 seconds left. Any last questions?
Did you do it? Has joined the meeting.
Okay, with that, thank you guys very much, and we wish you all the best, okay?
Thanks, Pat. Take care.
Thanks so much. And so we have until 9:30. Let's see what our schedule is. Concerns, or I think it went well. Any feedback or any concerns that you guys are experiencing as you've done this the first time now? Everybody feels comfortable? With that, you got a break until, so what we suggest you do during breaks is cut off your mic and your camera. We come back on, Virginia will start, we say we got a 9-minute break. You really don't have a 9-minute, but you gotta be, because we actually have to have the next presentation starts at 9:30. So you need to get back before 9:30, okay? And Virginia will be letting them into the format 5 minutes till. So that would be, for her, it would be, in a couple of minutes. Okay. So everyone is here representing a Life Recovery Center. Is that correct, sir? I thought I heard a Dominique.
Mr. Dominique is here. Ms. Green is not yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna give her a quick call. Go ahead. Dominique is on, yes. And we're waiting for Ms. Green, but if we need to start, we can go ahead and start.
Yes, please.
Yes, okay.
Hold on, I'm sorry. There's a caller 6. James, besides yourself, who else is calling in?
He said. So,
Ms.
Ms. Green
has joined the meeting.
All right, she's on now.
okay, everyone is here.
No, hold on. There's an extra person. Okay, so James, not yourself. Each caller, can you call yourself out? Ms. Green?
Background noise. I didn't, I kind of caught the back end of that, but I'm here.
Okay, Ms. Green is this person. Give me just a second. There's an extra person in here.
Did Ms. Green join the meeting?
Yeah, yes.
So James, she's on here, but
Okay, thanks.
I have an additional caller on the line. Can you please call yourself out, or I have to move you to the lobby? Okay, we're moving you.
Is Dr. McAllister on? Dr. McAllister.
We have yourself and we have Ms. Green.
Ms. Green, and you have Dominique Beasley.
Dominique was signed in. She is no longer signed in on the computer.
She should be signed in on, I heard, okay, let me call it back.
Okay. Hold on. Dominique, are you on the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, she's here, James. Sorry, y'all. I'm just trying to make sure nobody's here that's not supposed to be. Okay, so you have James, Dominique, and Green for A-Life Recovery in the conference room.
Screen, yes. The screen on? Miss Screen.
Ms. Green is on, Dr. Houston. So all of your people are here, so they're about to get started, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Good morning. This is, first of all, we want to welcome you, and hopefully all is well and safe. My name is Gwendolyn Filia. I will be your team leader today. I'm currently employed at Florida A&M University. I have been with this wonderful team effort for about 20 years. And from this point, we're going to have all of our team members to introduce themselves. The timekeeper will come in and give you your time, and she will keep you on task. And we'll give you an opportunity to elaborate a little bit on your program. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Summer Ball. I'm with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and this is my second time as a citizen team reviewer.
Good morning. My name is Leanne Giroux. I'm with the Florida League of Cities, and this is my 12th time on a CRT review team.
Good morning. This is Allison Voorhees. I'm with Capital City Bank, and this is my 5th or 6th year. And we also have a team member who's joining us by phone, Janetta Chukes. I hope I'm saying the name right. But I am your timekeeper, so I will give you an audible 5-minute warning, and then I'm going to do a 2-minute and a 1-minute, just so I don't interrupt conversation. So I'll keep us on track. But if you can't hear me or have any questions, just raise a hand and we'll be watching.
At this time, we will have you to introduce your team members as well. And keep in mind, the first question that we have for you today is how would COVID-19 affect the way that you implement your program?
Okay. This is Ms. Burns, the share screen. Pastor Houston, would you like to answer this question?
Yes, we need who's going to answer that question. And also, hello, Mr. Houston, for your team, if you're not speaking, could you please put yourself on mute so that we can reduce the background sounds, please? So, Mr. Houston, are you going to respond to that question, or Ms. Green?
Ms. Green will respond.
Okay, we're ready.
Thank you. Again, this is Natira Screen. How COVID-19 has affected the A-Life programming, we have implemented the social distancing where for the residential program, we're still able to run and facilitate therapeutic groups. However, there are issues where we have to space things out. We use PPEs. No services have been suspended. We've been able to provide level 4 services, just other than changing things that we haven't done before. Again, masks if we're doing individual sessions. We do the 6 feet, the social distancing. But overall, we have been able to maintain services.
This is Gwendolyn Filia again. I'm looking at some of your concerns from the previous allocation. One of the concerns that I have is still your board diversification. Tell me, what are you doing and what have you put in place to make sure that we don't have a third, because I didn't see where you addressed that very thoroughly in your application about how you're changing your diversification of your board. Could you give me some explanation on that, please? Thank you.
Well, we have added some additional board members, and we have added we have a racial balance, not a balance, but we do have a mixture of other races as a part of our board, and we have some board members who have varying degrees of expertise in a whole lot of different areas. Look at the board list. We have some completely new board members that have been added. And I think when you look at the experiences and what they bring to the table, you will see that we do have a diverse board. We're still in a developmental stage with this new board, and we hope that we will be able, within the, when we get the opportunity to meet face to face, we'll be able to further define board responsibilities and groups and we have the requirements that we need. We have some subcommittees within the board that will address the various concerns that you all have addressed.
Team members, questions?
Yes, I was also in regards to some concerns that were noted in the award letter from last year as to whether or not there was a staff member now who was, I'm so sorry, that was bad timing from my dog, about the licensing and certification of the staff members. Sorry, I'm gonna have to mute.
Basically, she's asking about the qualifications of the employees, I believe.
Ms. Green, will you speak to that?
Yes, I will. Thank you. Currently, with my position as a clinical consultant, I do have a master's level degree, plus I'm certified as a master's level certified addiction professional. Recently, Ms. Beasley, who is the residential coordinator, she has obtained her master's level in social work.
My question with that is, how many hours of clinicals you have put in with clients for this?
How many, are you asking me or are you asking Ms. Beasley?
Either one of you can answer the question.
Beasley, can you answer that question?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
The clinical hours, how many have you practiced? You said you have your master's degree in this. So have you put in clinical hours for this, and how many hours have you done?
Yes, ma'am. While I was obtaining my degree, I did a total of 512.
Ms. Beasley, I just said.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Is there any more comments for that?
No, ma'am.
Team, any more questions for this organization?
Quick question. In the application, it just mentioned that the board was being restructured, and you mentioned that you'd added some new board members and things like that. I believe I missed, what was the reason for the restructuring of your board?
To address the concerns from the previous CRT, to address all the concerns that about new members being added to the board and about diversity of the board. So in an attempt to address those issues, we have added a previous consumer to the board who was able to address consumer concerns. And he's a recent graduate of the program, and he's a successful businessman in his own right. So I think with that and the various educational opportunities that come with the various board members, we are quite diversified, and we're able to now address all issues that will come before this agency, including having separate entities for like financial concerns. Certain we're going to have subcommittees, sub-board that will address all of those concerns.
This is Gwendolyn filling again. As you know, the funding is very tight during this session. Could you tell me, and I know you mentioned it in your application, if you don't get the funding that you're requesting, what would be your most reasonable request?
Most reasonable request, meaning what do we mean? If I don't get the exact level, what is another level we would?
Yes, if you don't get the level at which you requested.
Well, I don't know. We're in the process of trying to hire an executive director. We had one hired that didn't quite work out, and she left. And we're trying, and right in the middle of all of the COVID-19, so we're not able to attract too many applicants right now. But we do need to have the funding so that we can have a direct supervision of this residential living sober program. We need on-site supervision and direction of the executive director. So the major thing that we will lose, we will not be able to fund that executive director position. And that's what a portion of it, with the part that deals with living sober. And that's, we only have 2 programs now, so that's 50% of the agency's operation. So, and if you take the amount that we asked for and divide it in half, maybe that will give us an idea of maybe what we think would be the minimum that we could have to continue to operate the program. If that answers your question.
Yes, sir.
I did have another question in regards to whether or not there were any updates to fundraising or grant writing, if any of that had been addressed, or if CHSP is the sole funding source for the program.
It's not the sole funding source. We do have it's not what you call fundraising, but we do get the assistance from Bethel AME Church, and we are in the process of trying to get the board. That's going to be one of the components of the board. We're going to have to address the fundraising aspect of the organization. We have not addressed it properly, and we do intend to devote a sub board to fundraising.
This is again. You indicated
Advisory board. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You indicated that the program is still operating. How are you getting in new clients, and how are you serving letting your current clients know, since you have a face-to-face and meetings? So how are you communicating with the individuals that may not have computers or iPhones that may need your services at this time?
Ms. Beasley, you want to deal with that? I can answer, but I would like Ms. Beasley to go ahead and answer if she can.
Sure. A lot of times we're accommodating them as far as if we can help with them over the phone. Sometimes we are able to, because some of our clients, they are working. So I am able to accommodate their schedule. Sometimes we will have meetings outside, making sure we're 6 feet apart, making sure we wipe down everything, and everybody's hands are sanitized with gloves. Not gloves, but mask. If a new potential client just happens to come on to the facility, I'll meet them at the door. We'll sit outside and talk, make sure we're 6 feet apart. I explain to them that due to COVID-19, we can't bring them in the building just to protect our current clients.
Any other questions, team?
I'm sorry, this is Allison Voorhees. I had a follow-up question about some of the leadership subcommittees and plans that you've mentioned for, diversifying your funding sources and your leadership and leveraging their skills. What is the timeline on that as far as, I know you're needing to hire an executive director, but as far as the board's concerned, do you have kind of a roadmap for how you're going to accomplish that in the near future? What might that look like?
Yes, we're trying to, we're needing to have a face-to-face kind of meeting, and we're hoping that we'll be able to do that by the close of this fiscal year. We will be able to meet with our board members, our new board members that we brought on, and develop those advisory boards and get them to working by September 30th. That is a projected goal for me.
Thank you.
At this time, if you want to elaborate on any other significant things that are going on with your program, this would be a good time to do that. But one question I have is, what is the issue with a quorum with your board members and meeting a quorum? Because you indicated that there's never a quorum met.
It has been a struggle with the board, and we had members that were not really active and participating, so therefore we could not get the quorum. So we've had meetings, but we not for several times we're not able to get a quorum. But we have a completely new board now. I do not see that to be a problem in the future. We've learned how to do things differently now, but this COVID-19 has taught us how to do it, how to Zoom. So I do foresee that in the future we will be able to get with all of our board members via Zoom or some other method if we cannot meet face to face. So that is what we're looking at for this year. And have a
5-minute warning. Sorry to interrupt.
Have a full functioning board. Next year, we will be able to report that I do believe we'll be able to report that the board is active. We're having meetings, at least six meetings per year, and we're gonna think that we'll have a quorum in each one of them. So I'm optimistic that this board is going to turn around. I know it's been addressed several times, but we are really sincere this time that we're going to work diligently to make it what it needs to be so that A-Life Recovery can be the agency that it needs to be.
Questions, team? Anything else you would like to add, Steph? Anyone else from your team would like to add anything about the program at this time?
I will add that I think the Living Sober program is a great program that we're adding, where our consumers will be able to have full-time jobs and be able to get the counseling hours that they need. It's a more of a free kind of an atmosphere. They're able to work full-time jobs. They're able to come to the facility as their home away from home and have all the rights and privileges to being at home. So I think it's a very exciting time for us. And I think it's an exciting time for our consumers too. I think they all enjoy it. They all love it. And I think we're doing a great service to the community. So, so that is where we are. And we're moving forward with this program. We have not suffered any kind of reduction in the number of consumers that we have. As a matter of fact, we are not able to service all because of this COVID-19. We're not able to bring as many people in as we would like to bring in because of the increased amount of clearance we have to give to them to come into the program. We don't have the virus in the program now, and we're not planning to have it. So we're making an extreme dedicated effort to make sure that the people that we bring in do not have the virus. So we're thankful for that. And we also, speaking of the funding aspect of it, since these individuals, I think about 90%, if not 100% now, have jobs. And so with the jobs that they have, they're able to pay their fees. They're able to pay a percentage of the money to the program, which helps keep us afloat.
We have a minute and 45 seconds remaining.
And so, and we're thankful for Ms. Beasley and the Living Sober program because they are timely with their payments. Everybody is just doing what they need to do, and I think it's a beautiful thing to see. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. And we don't have a whole lot of people dropping out, and I think that's good. And we're testing our residents at least twice a week to make sure that they're sober. And if they're not living clean and sober, we're instituting in a treatment plan. We're identifying what they need to do and to get back on track. It's not our goal to throw people out of the program. It's our goal to try to keep them in the program and to try to get them to live clean and sober lives. And when it gets beyond what we can handle, we always are in touch with the parole officer, and we deal with those that way, the non-compliant folks. We don't have a lot of non-compliant individuals.
We have about 20 seconds left. Final question.
Ms. Do you have anything else?
No, Pastor Houston, I think everything you said was very well spoken.
This is Ms. Green. I just want to say that one of the things that we have implemented, and we are still searching for new innovative treatment methods, but we are using evidence-based practices within the treatment programs at A-Life.
Thank you. That's our time.
When you're on mute.
Thank you, everyone, for attending today. We, as a team, thank you for sharing with us this your program, and we wish you much success and stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have,
Thank you.
Your screen.
have a
Has
great
left the
day.
meeting.
And we're getting
Dominique
ready.
Beasley.
The next
Has left the
starts
meeting.
at 10.
James Houston. After what?
You just announced yourself.
Did you do it?
Already did it.
Has left the
Good morning. My name is Allison Voorhees. I'm with Capital City Bank, and this is my 5th year as a CRT member. And we have Janetta Chooks, who's on the call but not able to be on video. I am your timekeeper. You'll have 20 minutes, and I will. It looks like most of you are here by video, so I will give you an audible 5-minute warning, and then I have signs for 2-minute and 1 minute, and just so I won't interrupt you speaking since it flips out. But our time starts now.
I'm the executive director. I became the executive director January 1st of this year. So this is my first CHSP application. And Barbara Ellman is the board president. You want to say hi? Barbara waves. And Elizabeth Sheets is, I believe, on the call. I don't see her down there, but she is our bookkeeper. And if Mark Hydorn has joined, Mark is also on the board and has been for many years and takes a very active role in the programs. The program that we're going to talk about this morning, we have 3 programs: Better Angels Apartments, the Kids Safe Program for car seats, and the CRTA program, which stands for Computer Refurbishing and Technical Assistance. Basically, what we do is take donated computers and our techs refurbish them with Microsoft 10, with Windows 10 and Microsoft 2010, and any repairs that need to be made to the computers. And then we offer them to individuals that can't afford a computer through our partner agencies. So we take referrals from our partner agencies, basically, who are doing the casework and the follow-up for the clients that are that we're providing this specific service for. We have actually the 2 techs that we're using right now are contract techs, and they actually went through our training program several years ago, and they've stayed with us to do this work. We've been
Excuse me for a second, just for a second, Ms. Dottie, are you talking to them because this is a Q&A session? So have you addressed the issue about how your operations have been impacted by the COVID virus? That's one of the first questions. So let me explain the format so we're clear. So that's the first question you will respond to, and then after that it will be for the volunteers will ask you specific questions. Okay, so we have to treat everyone the same as far as the format. Thank you, Ms. Dottie.
Okay. The COVID-19 situation that we have has impacted our program over the last couple of months. We had to actually close our office March 17th because of concerns. We had several high-risk employees, and it was important that they not expose themselves to any unnecessary danger. But that being said, we also had an issue in our CRTA workshop because we couldn't really provide the 6-foot distancing for the 2 employees that work back there. So what we have done, so at the time that we closed, we had about 20 computers in stock, and people had not picked them up that had ordered them. We knew there was a great need, particularly with school kids, and so we contacted several schools, and one of the Title I schools in Leon County was willing to accept most of the desktops that we had for their students. So we made special arrangements for them to come, and we distributed the stock that we had to those schools. that school in particular. In the last couple of weeks, we've put some safety precautions in place, and our techs are back. They're working on alternate schedules so that they don't have to be in close contact with each other. And we have disinfecting procedures in place for their area as well. We've also adopted contact-free distribution. So the office is now open by appointment for people who have ordered a computer and want to pick it up. The other impact it's had on us, I guess, is that we missed a fundraiser that we were supposed to be having at the end of March. And so we've got to figure out how to recoup the loss of that. But we have been able to take advantage of some of special funding resources that have been available because of the COVID-19 virus. We anticipate that we can continue to operate under the precautions that we've taken and the procedures that we've set up to come very close to meeting our goal. We have 64 computers ordered at this point. And so we're working on those orders now, provided 7 actually this week to students that were starting summer school. And our techs are really focused on trying to get as many of these completed as we possibly can. Do you have any more questions?
What is usually the turnaround time for getting the computers completed and distributed to your clients?
Well, it has been about 2 weeks from the time someone orders until it's ready to be picked up. Sometimes they sit there for quite a while and people don't come and pick them up. They may not have the program fee. We do have a program fee that that our clients pay, or the agency that refers them pays. It's $65 for a desktop with Wi-Fi access, and $75 if we have laptops, which we don't always have. People don't tend to give us their old laptops. So sometimes they sit there for a while, and that's what the situation was when we had to close the doors and we had the 20 sitting on the shelf that we really wanted people to be able to use.
I had a follow-up on the workshop difficulties you had as far as proximity during the pandemic closure. So were you not able to have anyone in the facility working during that time? So like the 20 you had, you distributed, and you've just picked up 2 weeks ago back on the 65 or so you have on hand. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Did you find during that time you had a lot more demand? I would, given how many families may have needed the technology to be able to complete school for their children, and how did you, I guess, communicate your limitations during that time, and did it affect your community relations at all, or relations with your partners?
We were in contact with most of our partners during that time, so they were aware of the issues that we were having. We advised them to continue to put their orders into the online order form that we have. And I think most of them proceeded to do that. There were other resources for some computer technology, particularly through the Leon County schools. So even though we would have normally expected a lot more referrals from Leon County schools, they actually were able to borrow some computers from the school district. So that kind of well, it wasn't what we expected exactly. So, but we still have quite a few that are anticipating needing a computer in the fall.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm reviewing from the previous CRT team, they had a concern about your board diversity. Could you tell me what your plans are? What are you doing now since that the COVID-19, how you recruiting or diversifying your board?
Well, as I said in the application, we really value diversity on our board because we think that that gives us more creative solutions to problems, and particularly including people with experience of poverty and disability. I come from the elder care system, where we've tried to include both clients and even people with dementia on decision-making capacity. So I truly believe that those folks have the agency to come up with their own solutions, and that anything we do to promote that is a positive. One of the things that we've talked about, and keep in mind, I've only had 2 board meetings since I have been there, so we haven't had a lot of board discussion about this, but in talking with the executives on the board, we're very seriously considering using an advisory board, and promoting that for folks who have this lived experience, giving them some experience and some confidence at decision making and advising, and then using that as a grooming technique for developing new board members, as well as just looking at the community and having a more prominent presence in the community that would attract people who want to be involved in this kind of program.
Thank you. Team, any more questions, please?
I think Ms. Elman wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just unmuted
I'm
you.
sorry, I might have lost connection during that last response. So I'm sure what Dottie I'm thinking she was suggesting about the advisory council, and I wanted to be sure that I let you know that we totally support that as a board, and that's something we look forward to doing. I just really missed the train of thought there. So I also wanted to just let you also know we're very pleased that she's on board with us now, and we're making a lot of progress during this time of lots of adversity. And Dottie's had a lot of wonderful advice and suggestions. So, and
challenge in this area is that our documents indicate that we have to have 51% of our board must be Lutheran. Now that's important for our connections to the national Lutheran organizations, which provide us with a lot of financial support and other types of support. But it also makes it more difficult to add the people that would represent the different diverse populations of Leon County. So it's a challenge, but we think it's a worthy challenge, and are fully committed to doing it.
As a follow-up to that, is the advisory council sort of the solution to that limitation as far as creating diversity in terms of leadership and thought? Since you may have a harder time doing that, pulling from a strictly Lutheran population, is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, and I think that advisory council will be able to make recommendations to the board for the better ways of solving problems, even looking at our public relations materials and those kinds of things, to let us know how people who are being described feel about the way they're being described, or the way they're being portrayed to the public.
Yeah.
Barbara have.
Okay. And also just to follow up on that question about that, we're not restricted to Lutherans for the whole board. It's just the 51%. And even among that, currently one of our Lutheran members is a gentleman from African descent. And so that it's not that that completely restricts us, but we're looking for people who will always add to our challenges and to all kinds of ideas and will work hard for us and are very much interested in our commitment to the community.
Team, any more questions, please?
We're just about our 5-minute mark.
No more questions?
One question for me is, do you if you didn't get your full funding, you mentioned that you're requesting, how would you continue to serve your client base?
Well, we are, one of the things I've been doing is from home for the last 2 months. So one of the things that I could do actually was apply for grants and do some grant research. So I'm continually doing that and, trying to leverage grant money so that the program can continue. Honestly, what I've found is that a lot of the grant funding now is also directed at COVID response. And so my argument has had to be that this is a response to the COVID pandemic because people are more reliant on technology right now than they ever have been before. I don't know how that's going to translate in these grant applications because I'm sure there are other grant applications that are providing a much more direct kind of assistance from the medical standpoint. But I'm trying. And that's, so, we're kind of on hold with fundraising except for online kinds of things, which is atypical for us. The grant stuff is, kind of changing as we're doing this. So I walked into kind of a whole changing world when I came on board. But I'm really very thankful for the board that I have to work with, who are very, very supportive, and I feel like we're all kind of on the same page and working as a team to make sure that our programs are directed to meet the needs that exist in the community without duplicating any services, and that's a key element for us. But it'll be tough if we don't.
We have about 2.5 minutes left. I was curious as far as outreach in terms of like in-kind fundraising, so donations of equipment that can be refurbished. Have you found that people have an interest if they have old equipment, finding a home for it, knowing there's a need? And if so, how are you reaching out to let people know you can accept that and you have the capacity to refurbish these in time for the fall or school or the next kind of wave of need coming through?
Since we just started the program back up last 2 weeks ago, we've been we've had people in there for 2 weeks. I honestly have not done much of that outreach because we have such a backlog to get done. And we did have considerable donations, mostly from state agencies, very large donations in February. So we have quite a stock. That does build community support, and I think it helps people feel like they're, doing something to help. So I do anticipate in the next few weeks getting that out and making some more arrangements for, again, contact-free donation acceptance as well.
What about capacity to, you said you have 2 techs. Is that enough to meet the demand that is coming if you are able to bring in more donations? And we have 1 minute and 5 seconds remaining.
Okay, in 1 minute and 5 seconds. One of the things that we would like to do, when we first started this program, one of our employees actually was trained in computer refurbishing. He was our bookkeeper and jack of all trades, I think. And since that time, he's left our agency. So the two techs that we have are basically our team. I wouldn't know what to do to refurbish a computer. And one of the things that we're looking at adding to try to expand the program and to help with the organization of it is to add a half-time program manager for the CRTA program. We think that person would be able to increase donations, build new partnerships, and just make us more efficient.
Miss Barbara wants to speak.
Real quick, back to the reach out to the community. We've had a contact with Lori Messer. Dottie's talked to her also at St. John's Episcopal that they wanted to do donations. We paused it at that time, and so that's somebody that we will be reaching out again and working with them, we hope, so that she can continue it at their church and possibly expand that. So that'd be another form. Thank you.
It's our time.
We want to thank you, ladies, for your time and this fabulous agency, and we continue to wish you well, and hopefully you stay safe and your clients as well. Thank you very much for your day. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Janetta. Hey, how are you? Okay, ladies.
I forgot. I'm sorry about that COVID question.
Oh, that's okay. Join us. So we're ready to get started as soon as I can see all my committee members. So I'm waiting on, I think.
We have one more too from our team.
Leanne, Janetta.
That's Jim, correct, Randy?
Yeah, Jim Christie. His computer had crashed and he just rebooted or something.
I'll leave it unlocked.
Okay, so we can get started, Madam Chairperson.
Good morning, everyone. How are you today? I hope everyone is doing well. My name is Gwendolyn Philly. I'm the team leader today. I'm currently employed with Florida A&M University. I've been working with the CRT community for about 20 years. And this is a passion of mine, so I can tell based on your application, it's a passion of yours too. Once we get our team members introduced to you, along with our timekeeper who's going to keep you on task, we're going to also give you an opportunity to introduce the people that you are going to allow to present for you. And the major question that we need to get answered first is how COVID-19 would affect your ability to implement your program. So once everybody have completed with their introduction, that would be the first question to answer. All right?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Summer Boggs, and I'm with Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Big Bend. And this is my second time as a citizen team review member.
Good morning. My name is Leanne Giroux, and I'm with the Florida League of
Has
Cities.
joined the meeting.
And this is my 12th year on the CRT.
So what you should do, use it on the computer.
Janetta Schutz, with WellCare, long-term care case manager, and it's my 8th year.
Good morning. I'm Allison Voorhees. I'm with Capital City Bank, and this is my 5th year as a reviewer. And I'm your timekeeper today. We'll have 20 minutes for Q&A, starting with the question Gwen asked. And I'll give you an audible 5-minute warning. And it looks like most of you have video, so I'll just do the signs, so I won't interrupt someone speaking toward the end. So our time starts now.
Okay, I'm Randy Nicholas. I'm president of 211 Big Bend, and I've been doing this for more than 30 years. And I have a great team with us today. Tori Greer is our director of management. Jim Christie, who's sitting behind me because his computer was crashing, so he's someplace. He's our director of information programs. Carrie Tyree is our director of hotline programs. And Justin Sharp is our board incoming chair in July. And we're happy to be here. I'll start with our response to COVID. We have continued operations in our call center. We could not do remote calling with our current phone system, so we have instituted all kinds of cleaning and space and mask protocols, and we have kept operating since March when people went into isolation. We have increased calls, answered more calls by about 65+% in March, April, and then we just got some numbers for May, and we're still increasing slightly from last month. We're answering very well. Our answer rate has averaged 97+%. It means we're not missing many calls, and we've been able to move counselors from other programs that have slowed down some of our state lines and had them help answer 211 calls. So that's why our rate has been still very good. And we have also been doing some remote training on for volunteer counselors. We had to finish up our spring class remotely, and we're doing our summer class currently with 30 volunteer counselors remotely via Zoom. So that seems to be working well. So we anticipate being able to continue operations at full strength. Our top calls are food related, people looking for meals, some medical related to COVID, housing concerns, transportation, utilities, and then of course mental health. And we have had some not major increases in the suicide prevention calls, but we have had more intense calls as of recent weeks. So we're seeing a little bit of a trending upwards there. We have also been taking action. We applied and was awarded the Paycheck Protection Program loan. So that's kind of a safety net. We've also applied for some other temporary grants. One of them, well, actually, we got 2 grants, one from or funding from Big Bend Community-Based Care and United Way to help us upgrade our phone system. So that's on our current plate of what we're working on to implement in the next couple months so that we will be able to answer remotely in the future if the pandemic continues in a way that forces us to do so. Those are pretty much the highlights. We have really partnered with a lot of other groups in the community to keep the information up to date. We have also been working with the Kearney Center. They moved all their residents out, and they asked us to help do some triage with the callers, and so we've been working with them for the last couple of months doing that. And I think that's kind of going back to their bailiwick now. So, and then hurricane season is starting. So we are part of the COAD team that helps the community respond to hurricane information and preparation. So we're gearing up for that too. We have a great team, and I think we will have a continued strong operation during COVID. I think those are the main things I wanted to mention. Oh, we have had to cancel our fundraiser, our Run 211, and we're not sure how we are going to conduct our fundraising going into the next year. At this time, there's still so many unknowns that we're relooking at how we're going to do that. So that's the one area that we are not really sure of. We are also applying for a FEMA crisis counselor grant with our other 211 partners throughout the state, and along with DCF, who's helping us coordinate that. So we're hoping we may get some temporary funding to help us with some crisis counseling needs that will arise in the next few months. I guess that covers it. You might want to ask questions on anything related to that, or any other questions you have.
I have a question based on the last CRT team. how do you get a follow-up with the clients that you speak to, and how well is that going? How do you document that?
We have, when we get an incoming call, we ask the caller if they would like a follow-up call. And if they give permission, they give us the information we need to contact them. And then depending upon the type of call and situation, we'll follow up within, it could be a couple days for a high risk call, or it could be a couple weeks if they're seeking referrals in the community. And we can then ask them if they received the referrals or found the referrals to help their need. And then also we do some satisfaction questions with that.
Also with the CRT team, they indicated your concerns about your board. What have you done to address those?
Concerns about the board in terms of diversity or?
Yes.
We have continuously been looking at board development. We have brought on some new board members this past year. Our board is a little bit smaller right now. We've had a Zoom meeting or a video meeting in April. Our next meeting is this month, and we're continuing to look at further development of new board members, but we're at about 13 board members now. And I think we have a fairly good diversity. Justin's on the phone. I don't know if you want to add.
And yeah, if I could jump in as incoming board chair. Strategically, about a year and a half ago, we met as a board to kind of identify some strategic needs, and that was the big one. Is board diversity and increasing, not necessarily the number of people on the board, but really the breadth and the outreach of the individuals on the board and the community to sort of get a broader reach. And it's one of my strategic goals coming in as board chair for the next year, will be to continue that growth. We're trying to add probably 1 or 2 additional board members at this time, and we're looking at industry areas, kind of specifically of where we don't really currently have great representation, and then really looking for those individuals that fit what our specific needs of the organization are.
Thank you.
I have a question.
I had a question as well. Janetta, did you want to go first?
Okay, I just wanted to ask, Randy, I know that you mentioned that you all would not be able to do some of your fundraisers this year. How hard will that affect the agency?
Well, we have budgeted normally about $60,000 for our fundraising, our 2 fundraising events. So we're going to have to probably be more conservative with our goal because we don't really know how we're going to do that yet. And then we will be continuing to look at grants and other funding opportunities, mainly due to COVID, to kind of fill gaps. We got a United Way $10,000 grant that we're planning to probably use at the beginning of our fiscal year to help with our telephone costs related to a new phone system. So there are a couple things we're going into the year prepared, and will help us defray some costs initially, and then we'll have a little bit more time to figure out our fundraising. Unless we have other losses, we don't know about our state contracts are funded, except the governor hasn't approved the budget yet. So we don't know the impact of that on our programs at this time. We're hoping it won't impact them, but that's a possibility that we're still worried about.
So thank you very much for clarifying all of the funding, because those were a couple of the questions I had, because those were 2 big pieces that we're going to be missing. One of my other questions was, I know you guys have a very high volunteer hour ratio that comes in, and so how do you anticipate the, safety procedures going forward with utilizing those volunteers? And are those hours going to be something that you'll be able to replace?
I'll let Carrie, are you on? If
I
not,
am.
okay, can you address that one?
Sure. Presently, we have a very, our hygiene properties in the phone room. We have people coming and cleaning every 2 hours. We've got assigned seating so that if anyone came up positive for COVID, we'd be able to track back and kind of see who may have been affected by that. We have volunteers that are in town that are doing a lot of hours, more than they normally would. Obviously, it's easier for them now because their classes are either remotely or they're out of class. We have our volunteer coordinator that has reached out, and she's doing a great job communicating with all the volunteers that we have that are dispersed through Florida and even throughout the United States, trying to get a guidelines and timeline about when they'd be back and how we would roll them back into the flow. I think we have that down pretty well. Paulina Lewis came up with the idea to do the Zoom training. Without that, we would have been in a little bit of, have a little bit of a problem because all of our great employees usually come from our volunteer pool. And so if that pool starts to go down, we'll have a hard time filling these positions that take so long to get folks trained because we cross-train across all hotlines. It's very time intensive. So allowing us to do the training remotely has kept us enough staff where we should be okay. We definitely are feeling the challenges a little bit. Our calls in the overnight have increased. And so it's important to keep our volunteers there. But yeah, I think we're okay, but we're definitely relying a lot on how dedicated our volunteers are. They're giving more than they've ever gave before. And once we go remote with our new phone system, a lot of this will be solved anyway. A lot of the counselors are at home in like Tennessee or South Florida saying, I would love to help you if I could. So it's going to be a different game.
Randy, how long before the new phone system is in place that would allow that remote workforce?
We just signed the agreement, and they should be starting, they are starting their work plan this week, and we're anticipating in about 2 months we should be operational. That's our goal, is the end of July. It will be a cloud-based system, and it will include video chat, or not video chat, chat and text. That'll all be integrated, and it'll give us a lot more features, a lot of new features that we don't have right now. So we're very excited.
One question, you indicated that how do you monitor, test for COVID for your volunteers? She mentioned that if anyone had COVID, they would be not used, but tell me how you are testing for that. And also, with the second question with that, if you answered that one, the funding source, the level of funding source that you're asking for, and I know you mentioned this, but could you indicate if you cannot be funded at the level in which you're asking for, and you're having issues with fundraising, how would this affect your program as well?
That's a 5-minute mark.
I'll let Tori, if you can answer the COVID procedures and protocols.
Sure. Can everyone hear me? Okay. So we do have procedures in place, written procedures that we've provided to the agency. We ask that employees who have symptoms, they stay home. Employees must report if they have a confirmed case of COVID-19 in their home. even if the employee continues to do well. And then we ask that employees not return to the workplace for 14 days or until they are fever free for 24 hours. And this is all in line with the CDC guidance. We closely monitor that to make sure we're in compliance. And originally with volunteers coming back, we were doing some screening questions. And this was at the beginning of COVID-19, asking if they travel outside of the country, if they've been on a cruise, those sorts of questions to make sure we were keeping our staff safe. So in some, we're just trying to encourage everybody to practice good hygiene practices, not only in the office, but at home, making sure that they're wearing masks, and then ensuring that anyone who has symptoms is staying outside the office.
I think it's important to remember as well that, sorry, this is Jeff again. I do work for Tallahassee Memorial. And so Corey reached out to me sort of at the beginning of all of this and kind of got some guidelines on what the hospital was doing in respect to our offices and our colleagues here. And so we sort of implemented a lot of those, trying to follow the same procedures. And so we're constantly kind of keeping up to date on those procedures along with the CDC guidelines. And Randy, I don't mind if I want to interject about the funds. As a board, we've been pretty adamant over the last 3 or 4 years about really putting aside some dedicated funds to have in case of things of this, of course, enough to cover a complete lack of it is something that we have been preparing for if necessary. We're going to bounce around some ideas about some virtual fundraising and pull some opportunities to do that. But if we don't get funded at the level that we are requesting, it is going to make a significant.
Yeah, as far as other opportunities for funding, we're continuing to search for emergency grants through our National United Way. I mean, not United Way, but 211 network, and it's tied to Worldwide, United Way Worldwide. So there's a grant that we're trying to apply for there. There are other very competitive grants that we are considering in the future. But it would take a lot more effort right now to do that, and we're kind of busy with a lot of immediate things. And then any other opportunities that'll come up, I guess we'll continue to look at for short-term emergency grants in case of shortfall and ongoing contract revenues.
Thank you both for your response. Team, any more questions at this time? Time remaining.
I do want to just mention Jim Christie couldn't log on to his computer, is here, and he and his team have been working a lot of hours to keep all the information updated in our community for our resource directory, so we can offer referrals to our callers and also help our partners with that information. So I just want to recognize that effort that our team is doing.
Thank you. Any more questions, team? Anything else from your team, sir, Mr. Randy?
I think that pretty well covers it, unless somebody else has a comment they feel like we missed. I thank you for your time. I appreciate your efforts to do this remotely. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And we wish you well, and please stay safe.
You too.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Carrie Tyree.
In the School of Allied Health Sciences, where we're conducting a lot of COVID testing. So with that said, I would like to know, and this is a question that you can answer once you introduce we introduce our team and you introduce your team, how COVID-19 would affect the ability to implement your program. And with that question, we're going to have our team to introduce themselves. Our timekeeper is going to keep you on task. And after her introduction, then it will be your opportunity to give us a brief overview. And with that said, we can go forward. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Summer Boggs, and I am with Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Big Bend, and this is my second time as a citizen review team member.
Good morning. I'm Leanne Giroux. I'm with the Florida League of Cities, and this is my 12th year on a CRT team.
Good morning, Janetta Chooks, and this is my 8th year on the team, WellCare Long-Term Care Specialist.
Good morning, I'm Allison Voorhees with Capital City Bank, and this is my 5th year as a CRT team member. I am your timekeeper today. We'll have 20 minutes, and it looks like most of you are here by video, so I'll do an audible 5-minute warning, and then I'll do, a 2-minute and a 1-minute, so I won't interrupt whoever's speaking toward the end. So our time starts now.
Thank you. My name is Carrie Litherland. I am the Executive Director of the Legal Aid Foundation of Tallahassee. Today I have with me Brandy Thomas, who is our current board president, Kevin Forstoffel, who is our immediate past president, Brittany Dambley, who is a current board member and another previous past president, and then Carmelita Hawkins, who is our current pro bono coordinator and is involved in both the programs that we're requesting funding for. So I guess you had asked to jump into the COVID related changes that we might be experiencing. So a lot of the changes that would happen in the application have already been implemented in our programs currently. We have done things like try to make our application available online. So we've made a PDF fillable application that they can complete an email that goes straight to our intake team. We have also made, we have tried to make big changes in the way that our attorneys are communicating with clients and serving them. Just like the courts have, we've implemented video conferencing. And as you might have seen in the application, we did request Zoom capabilities. It was one of the changes that we made in that second round of changes, just because we knew that was going to happen. So we had asked for the professional Zoom capabilities that will allow our attorneys to meet with clients virtually in a safe space. Once the courthouse opens, we will likely open up our doors as well. We're located in the courthouse. So it gives us really good access here. So as soon as the courts open back up, we will be open. And as we mentioned in a few places in the application, our clients really suffer from not having access to technology, which is why we make such an effort to go to them in the community. But we will provide, and we have provided and will continue to provide space in our office for them to video conference with attorneys that are maybe at their office or at their homes, and a place for them if they have a court hearing that they can log in here as well. We are working on trying to figure out how to do that with the community centers, but that will depend on when they open back up to the public and how they will allow us to bring clients and engage clients there as well. So we've made a lot of efforts to move electronically, but staying mindful of the limitations of many of our clients. And we're trying our best to kind of go through it. One of the things that might not happen immediately in the next 6 or 8 months, but we're hopeful that it'll happen early spring of 2021, is we've worked collaboratively with Legal Services of North Florida, making a note that this will affect both of our services, and through a different grant have applied to bring in like a kiosk, a couple of kiosks. We'll have 2 in Leon County, and through the grant, we'll also have some a little bit outside of Leon County for the other service areas of Legal Services of North Florida. We focus mainly on Leon County. So those 2 kiosks will really help legal aid provide services here. And we are hoping to partner with other human service agencies that would remain open in times of crisis, learning from this experience that not the people you might think of, like the library or community centers that are great places to put these kiosks, they might not be the best places this time around. So we're trying to identify those community partners, and we will have 2 kiosks in Leon County for our clients to engage with attorneys. And we're hopeful that that kiosk software will allow them to share documents and be able to look at petitions and court documents, and if it's a housing issue, their lease. So they'll be able to upload those documents and have a full conversation with their attorney in a secure location, because confidentiality is a very important thing with our service. So those are a few of the major changes that it won't impact too much of the current application, because we have figured out how to implement some of those necessary changes already, but those are the things that we're looking forward to doing.
Thank you. Questions, team?
I have one, Gwen, whenever you get a chance. Sorry, couldn't unmute there. I had a question regarding your fundraising event in September, as that's a pretty sizable part of the projected fund coming in, and whether or not you anticipate still being able to hold that event, or if you have an alternative plan for that, or what you think will be moving forward.
Oh, thank you for that question. We are moving forward with it as of right now. We will be offering, we're planning to be able to offer some type of video into the luncheon, but as of right now, we are trying to move forward with it. If anything, as far as the funding goes surrounding it, because we do get a lot of donations and sponsorships surrounding that luncheon in particular, we expect that those will still happen within this year, regardless of if we have to postpone it later in the year or if it happens in September. So right now we're planning for like a quasi in-person virtual kind of luncheon, which then of course will make it easier to transition to full virtual if we have to.
Just a follow-up to that question about your fundraisers. So if you're not funded at the level in which you that you requested, could you tell me, and I know you mentioned this in your application, but how will that truly affect how you reach out to your clients and letting them know that you are available to them and recruiting new clients?
So funding from you guys this time around is pretty crucial to us. We're not funded by the United Way of the Big Bend this year, and that was a significant funding source for particularly the Thunderdome Tallahassee program. And we are also seeing a decrease in funding from other sources as well. So your funding is really important, and not only just to continue, but to expand in the way that our community needs. So we're seeing in the last 6 months a very large increase in community need, and I think that's more about a community awareness. We've worked a lot in the last 2 to 3 years. Engaging with the community and letting them know that they have a right to an attorney in civil matters and that we're here for them. And I think that has done its job, and we have lots of need and people applying for services now. And so to be able to meet that need, I know that we would not be able to meet the need of the community in any way if we did not have funding from you guys. In particular, the Thunderdome Tallahassee program has been successful, but we would like to take it to the next level. We need more attorneys that are trained in this area to provide the support needed by our community. Absolutely need it. And to do that, I mean, currently, and I don't think it's not conveyed as well in the application, but I, the executive director, am really the one who's putting on this program. So I am not only doing my executive director duties, but I am also putting together the curriculum along with skilled attorneys and professors. I am putting together the applications, I'm seeking those and recruiting attorneys for this, I'm recruiting the clients for this with some help from our pro bono coordinator, but she has a much bigger project on her hands as well. And so to take it to any next level, to have more than 15 attorneys and to teach 15 attorneys in a year, and to expand the topics of law that we're covering outside of family law, that needs an extra set of hands. And so the funding is absolutely necessary to even take it to the next level, and make sure that we're recruiting the attorneys that we need to serve the clients that we have.
Thank you. Any questions from the team, please, at this time? If not, could you just, how do you follow up with your clients to know that you're actually doing a good job for them? And because there's a lot of things that are going on right now with the COVID-19 and issues that clients are having with eviction and shortage of money, and a number of things is going on with them, and that would need legal advice and services.
Yeah, it's very, very important to stay in contact with our clients. Our pro bono coordinator, Carmelita, does an excellent job at this. We do at least monthly check-ins. I know she probably calls our clients more than a month, but we have mandatory monthly check-ins with our clients. So anybody who is currently in service or is waiting for representation, she has some contact with at least once a month. We do also usually reach out at the end of the case, just to see if everything was okay, and go from there, make sure they don't have any subsequent needs. So sometimes after a court hearing, they might have an additional need, and so that's when we would check in with them. One of the things that we would like to do moving forward, which again in the application we have requested for a part-time FSU law student intern. This would really help this part of it. It would allow us to do the surveys that we have done in other programs, where we do beginning and end surveys. And so we not only can see the level of quality of the representation, but the knowledge increase of our clients. So are they more aware of their civil right to petition the court when they have a civil issue? Are they knowledgeable that they can come back to us? Did they feel comfortable coming back to us? Do they trust us? Do they trust our attorneys? And so that would allow us to do those surveys. We don't currently do the surveys. It's more just phone calls and touching them and making sure that they're okay verbally. But we don't currently have the ability to do that quantitative data tracking through surveys that we do in some of our smaller programs. And we would like to do that.
Thank you. Questions, please. Anything that you need to get clarification on?
I would love to hear from one of the board members or some of you just kind of on the current environment and how that's affected your responsibility on the board, but also kind of looking ahead, what does that look like in terms of the needs of leadership of your organization to be able to do all the things that you've laid out in your application effectively, but also to be growing the professional development and experience and community contact of professional attorneys in our community.
I think I'm going to turn this over first to Brandy to maybe talk about the leadership, and then Kevin's really on the call to talk about the board experience and why it's so important to continue this service. So I'll turn it over to those two real quick.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. There was a little bit of muffle in the beginning of your question, so I want to make sure that I heard it clearly. You want to know how the leadership is able to move forward in the midst of COVID?
That, and also how, looking into the future, are there going to be changes to how you're structured or how you're recruiting, or what needs to happen to make you viable for the future as a leadership, but also as advocates for the program and attracting not only clients, but also the pro bono attorneys?
So as far as our current leadership, I think that we have done a great job of our board setup, having our board members on different committees, and we're all very active. And I love the progression of, your president, your immediate past president, you are still in the fold and being an active leader on the board. So that has really helped the succession of LAF and how we lead. Each board member is charged on a regular basis with not only talking about Legal Aid Foundation and how we need to increase our impact in the community, but also our giving to the organization. What needs to happen is basically what needs to happen in every organization. We get out there, we continuously communicate the need of our clients. But what I am extremely proud of is that our current board, since I've been on the board, and I've been on the board for on and off for about 5 years now, we have every single person on this board really cares about the mission, cares about our clients. We are constantly brainstorming on new ways to be involved. We get hands-on on the Thunderdome Tallahassee program. So I feel that if we continue the path that we're doing, making sure that we have full representation from individuals, we've had board members that are FAMU professors, that are law students, that are, not everyone is an attorney, because we want to hit the necessary needs of everyone, and we need everyone's view. So, I think Carrie has talked about some of the things that we have done.
5-minute warning. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. So I'll leave it there. I'll let Kevin go ahead and speak on his issue.
Yeah, and good morning. And I would echo a lot of Brandy's comments as well. I think our role is very similar to what it was before, in that we are very focused on recruiting attorney volunteers for the organization, as well as assisting the organization in fundraising. And now more than ever, those are high priorities for the Legal Aid Foundation and have to be some of our focus as board members just going forward. So I'm not sure there's much of a change, but as just more of an urgency in our efforts in supporting the organization. And just to echo Brandy's comments, I think one of the things that's changed since I've been on the board the last 4 or 5 years has been the increase in non-attorney board members that we've seen. And I think that's very helpful in getting the word out beyond just the legal community about this nonprofit organization and the work that we do. And again, now in response to the recent pandemic, I think that's another important aspect of our board that will help us increase our voice within the community. So.
Anything else from the team? Anything else from the from Legal Aid Foundation? You want to add anything else after anything else that the team needs to know about your organization?
Sure. Thank you. Real quick, I'd also like to just, on that last question, boast about my board a little bit. We are about to see an evictions crisis coming up here soon. Thankfully, we have another month to prepare for it. But the board has been incredibly responsive to this need, and they are all hands on deck trying to figure out how they can engage in a training, how they can recruit their peers, how they themselves can represent clients, and past representation advocate for some changes that would allow them to be heard in court. So I just want to boast about them for a minute on that question. With my last few minutes, I just wanted to let you guys know that civil litigation is so much more than helping somebody with a divorce or helping somebody with a housing issue. It's creating a foundation for them to build economic success. Without having someone fight for you and someone advocate for you in front of the court, you might not know your rights or the defenses to raise to protect your house, to protect your family, and to build a foundation to move out of your economic situation. So while it may just seem like we're helping somebody through a civil issue, we are really laying the foundation for economic success in our community. Our attorneys are more than just someone who stands next to you in a court and talks to a judge. They are your advocates. They are also somebody who, even if you're not in front of a judge, maybe you're at mediation, they're that level voice who can maybe resolve an issue. One of my favorite stories is we had somebody who came to us. Luckily, they knew about us. They knew their rights. So that was check one. They got it. But they came to us saying, I can't pay my rent next month. And this was pre-COVID. So, they came and said, I can't pay my rent next month. What do I do? And one of our attorneys was able to walk them through what the next steps were, tell them what the process would look like, and then engage with the landlord to come up with a plan so they could completely escape the eviction altogether. And it took that attorney talking to both parties to be able to solve that. And they were able to have their home, keep their family under a roof, and not be evicted. So that's really what we do with the Pro Bono Legal Services Program. And without Thunderdome Tallahassee, we are not able to recruit the attorneys that we need. Family law is 86% of our cases, and it is the most high intense, high stress, and really long-term commitment to take on these cases. And that's why we have a hard time having attorneys take them on. And so by doing this really innovative training, we can recruit them, show them that it's really needed, and instill that passion for serving our clients in family law. And we've trained 80 attorneys through that program that continue to serve clients to this day since 2014, so in 6 years, which is pretty incredible for us. And we hope to continue to be able to do that and expand. And we really hope that we can receive funding from you to be able to do that for our community. I think I got like 30 seconds left.
You're right on time. That's our time. Well done.
Well done. Very, very good. If no more questions, any more questions from the team? If not, you're very passionate about your program. We really appreciate the feedback from each one of you. To continue to do such a wonderful job in the community, and please be safe, and we look forward to serving you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you guys very much, and hello, Kevin.